This is 5 Questions with Your Classical Educator, and my name is Christy Stoddard. I am the Culture and Events Coordinator for Scholé Academies, and today I have with me Dr. Ross Williams. Welcome.
How's it going?
It's going very well. It's beautiful weather out here. And I was commenting on the room that you're in. It's beautiful. You're a music teacher, and you have a beautiful setup behind you. We're very excited to get to know a little bit more about you. So let's just jump right in and ask the first question, which you appropriately asked if we could say, what is your favorite composer, or who's your favorite composer, instead of what is your favorite book. So who's your favorite composer?
Well, that's anytime we ask a question like this, right, it's going to be difficult. So I thought about it and narrowed it down to my favorite time period, which is the Renaissance, the high Renaissance, especially as far as vocal music goes. And that kind of starts to narrow it down to a couple of composers like Palestrina. But my favorite composer right now is a gentleman named Thomas Tallis. And he was a composer in that mid 1500s under King Henry VIII. So not only is his music absolutely beautiful, but he had this wonderful way of maintaining a positive relationship with a terrible dictator, King Henry VIII, as he's known to be. And so what he was able to do was compose music largely in Latin as a way to communicate his love for the Blessed Virgin Mary and things that are particularly Catholic, even though the Reformation was starting. And so he's my favorite composer. Not just for that historical reason, but because the music is just so incredibly beautiful. He, alongside Palestrina and many composers in the High Renaissance, really changed the style as we exited out of the Middle Ages, and polyphony was the style of music. Many voices happening at the same time, and this style of imitation was growing, and it's just tremendous.
Well, that's wonderful. I wrote down both those names. I want to go and listen to them after we finish this interview, because I love classical music and I'm interested to hear these composers. So now that you've narrowed it down to your favorite composer, what's your favorite song?
Well, so we'll go with Thomas Tallis, and okay. My favorite song that he composed is called If Ye Love Me, which is a beautiful piece of music that he's taken from John 15. I'm going to read a little bit from John chapter 14, verses 15. And it says, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to be with you always, the Spirit of truth, which the world cannot accept because it neither sees nor, which the world cannot accept because it neither sees nor knows it." And so what Thomas Tallis did with those words is he took the words if ye love me, and made that the opening statement of the song. And then he says, if you will keep my commandments, meaning that obviously the commandments of the Lord, especially Jesus's new commandments that he talked about, as far as love one another as yourself, and love the Lord God firstly. And what he did with that music was he started out by, if ye love me, something very simple. And what happened was he started expanding the notes. So there's a 4-part harmony. So the bass part will go down and the soprano part will go up. So the bass part going down, and then the soprano part going up. And then he goes into this idea of, if then I am with you and you are with me, this back and forth relationship we have with Jesus, and that our relationship does this intermingling. And he says things like, I am the vine and you are the branches. Whoever remains in me, I am with you and you are with me always. And so the imitation style does things like, and I will pray, and I will pray, and I will pray. All these voices start moving. But this is the first time this ever happened in the history of music. So with Thomas Tallis, he almost created this style, and it's just beautiful. The song is If Ye Love Me. I suggest you guys go listen to it.
Yes, I actually think I've heard that one, but I'm going to go listen to it after we're done. And thank you for playing. I was actually thinking, I hope he plays a little bit for us. So thank you for doing that. So tell us a little bit about your hobbies, which I assume are music related. Do you have hobbies that are also not music related?
Yeah, my wife and I are blessed to have 9 children. And so one of my favorite things to do is spend time with them, and my wife, of course. And a lot of the things that I like to do with them is projects in the backyard as far as building things or woodworking, or right now we have chickens, so we're taking care of them, and we like to go fishing. So a lot of outdoors activities. Those are my hobbies with my family.
Okay, wonderful. And I did forget to ask if you were teaching any summer classes. If you are, highlight those as well as your fall classes for us.
Yes, so the summer classes are, I'm teaching a song called songwriting, and it's where you, over the period of the summer, 4 weeks, you write and compose a song in a way that Thomas Tallis would have done. With, instead of using a quill and ink, you can, use your computer, or we use the GarageBand software on the iPad. And then for the fall, I have 2 really exciting courses that I'd love to see some kids sign up for. And the first course is a course called Classical Music, Heritage, and History, in which we go through the time period starting with the Middle Ages all the way through, I mentioned the Renaissance, the Baroque, the Classical era, and the Romantic and Contemporary. And we talk about different composers and their virtues. And we follow this book by Susan Tracy called The Music of Christendom. And it's a really easy read. It's beautiful, goes into detail with some of those composers. So we learn about them. And the other class is called Music Inside the Mass. And that is a detailed walk through what happens inside the structure of the liturgy. That one's being offered in the Aquinas house. The first class I mentioned is in the Great Hall. But the Music Inside the Mass is offered in the Aquinas house, where we go through and we talk about what, from the opening bell of Mass, the first song that you hear, the first musical sounds you hear, all the way to the end, what happens. And during the Mass, there's 35 to 40 minutes of music. And so that's a huge responsibility for us as musicians, and for the people to be participating with. So we need to understand what's happening with music, and why is it there? Where did it come from? And why did this music get picked? The rest of the Mass is obviously the readings, the liturgy of the Word, the liturgy of the Eucharist for us Catholics. So a deep dive into the music inside the Mass.
Wonderful. Is that a year-long course?
Yes, they're both year-long courses. The Classical Music of Heritage and History is Tuesdays, Thursdays, 12:30. Music Inside the Mass is Wednesdays at 2. They're both year-long courses.
Okay, wonderful. Those sound so fascinating. Thank you so much. I wrote down the name of the book, The Music of Christendom. I'm excited to look that up too. Well, you have just been a wealth of information for me, expanded my musical knowledge already in just our few short minutes. Thank you so much, Dr. Ross Williams. And if you are interested in learning more about Dr. Williams' classes, please go to our Scholé Academy All Courses page and look him up there, or you can look under the subject specific. There will also be a link under this video. Thank you so much again for joining us, Dr. Williams. Have a nice afternoon.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye.